Hey everybody, Mandy Rave, Ecstatic Astrology here to give you your full moon forecast plus the next couple of weeks. Today is Friday, June 2nd, and the full moon is Saturday, June 3rd, and it'll be just after 10:30 p.m. Central US time. So most of the US will be able to see the full moon bright in the sky as it is exactly full, which I really love whenever I can gaze at the full moon at night and know that it's actually full right at that moment. So I believe it's like 10:41 p.m. in the central US. So take a look at it Saturday night, June 3rd, if you are able to. This is at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a sign that represents optimism, openness, knowledge, philosophy. It's spiritual to a certain degree. It would be like how your philosophical ideas are pretty spiritually linked to what you believe. And it's also your truth and adventure. That's another Sagittarian ideal. So full moon, optimism, yay. Ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's in Taurus. Jupiter in Taurus is really shining a light, no pun intended with the full moon talk, on our values and our assets, our material ownership, what we own materially speaking. That is Taurus. It's also the land. It is on a mundane level, meaning like for everybody, it's resources of the land. So Jupiter rules this full moon. So it's likely that we'll be also feeling a push towards more self-worth, Taurus, material gain, growing something. It's very much a growing full moon, excited about the future. There is a caveat. That caveat is that on the way to the full moon Saturday morning, and I don't typically give a start at the full moon, but I think this is important. On the way to the full moon, the moon will square Saturn around noon Central US time. So that could be a little obstacle leading up to the full moon. And then the moon will trine Mars as well on its way to being full. So it's like we get the brakes first, then we get the gas right after. So I kind of like that. And a week ago, the sun squared Saturn. That was the sun's in Gemini, which is why the moon, when it's full, is in Sagittarius, the opposite sign. And that was May 27th. And I don't know what you guys were doing or how it was, but it was rough for me. And I actually tweeted a couple of days before the sun square Saturn that I wondered what test would await me because I had a gig. I'm a musician as well. And I didn't expect it, but I just kind of wondered. I always wonder whenever a transit is supposed to be maybe harder or easier, I think I'd rather expect a test than maybe have high expectations for the good stuff. So I wondered, and it's true, it happened. We got to the gig and it was the exact sun square Saturn moment. I'm pretty sure the drummer's kick pedal wasn't working. He had a little trouble otherwise. The bass amp wouldn't turn on at first. The vocal mic went out. It was rough. It was really rough. So I do like to tell people that if there is an aspect to Saturn, even though this full moon seems to be really nice and optimistic and adventurous and feel good, leading up to it on Saturday, there could be a little bit of a hiccup right around noontime or leading up to it. So just something to note in the grand scheme of things. Now, what else is going on? So we have Jupiter in Taurus. I went over that. And Jupiter in Taurus is a big player right now. That's mostly because there's other things there. Mercury's there, Uranus is there, the North Node is there. There's a lot of energy in Taurus. And when Jupiter's there, it expands it. So there's the material assets, money, values, self-worth stuff. But the other thing, and the reason why it's a big player right now, is because Mars is in Leo. Mars squared Jupiter in Leo. It is now past the square, but Venus will square Jupiter very soon after the full moon. Venus squared Jupiter, be careful with your money is all I'm going to say. That it can be a time when people go wild with what they want to spend their money on. The other thing about Venus is it's also relationships. So maybe people going wild with, people, other people, and the connections they have. That exact square is not until June 9th, so almost next weekend. But as soon as Venus enters Leo, it will be doing things. And Venus enters Leo Sunday night, Monday morning. So it's something to note because Venus will go retrograde in Leo later in the summer. So Venus in Leo, what is that? Let's just spend a little time on that since we know it'll go retrograde. Venus in Leo is open-hearted. Venus is what we love. Venus is what we value. Leo is creativity. Leo is fun. It is joy. It's inner child. It's actors and people who don't mind attention. That is a Leo concept. Leo is ruled by the sun. So that is why it's like the shining light Leo, the zodiac sign. Venus moves in there and gives it a little bit of a boost with regards to creativity, with regards to joy, our inner child. And, I think it's important to note that we've been a little hemmed in over the last 3 years with Saturn being in its home sign. Now Saturn's in Pisces. It's not as restrictive. So, what people have been waiting to do is it seems to be almost the time to do it. And I'm noticing that in the music community, a lot of people coming out with new music. So this will be a very creative time. We just have to understand that Venus will go retrograde there. Retrogrades with regards to Venus are reevaluation times. And sometimes it's, I really thought I liked this, but I guess I don't necessarily like this. It could be about putting yourself out there. It could be about your inner child. It could be about children. That doesn't happen until July 23rd. But when Venus ingresses Leo, I just want to give everyone that date so that okay, we're about to go into Venus retrograde shadow. That happens exactly, it's Monday morning. Okay. So, and I'm not really spending a whole lot of time. I guess I should, before I move on to Monday, say that Sunday is pretty big because Mercury and Uranus come together. Mercury and Uranus are mind-blowing. That is the best way to describe Mercury and Uranus. They're both in Taurus. Mercury is how you think and communicate. Uranus is upheaval and freedom. So it could be that Sunday we either have an idea or we decide to do something new or some piece of information. Mercury hits us out of the blue. So that's Sunday, the day after the full moon. And then Monday, Venus moves into Leo. Those are the two biggest transits, I think, after the full moon. The thing about Monday, Venus moving into Leo is, yes, it'll already be in a sign-based square with Jupiter, spending money or loving on a lot of people, right? But the square indicates, there's something that's not quite jiving. Jupiter and Taurus, these are my ideals. These are my values. These are my money. It's my stuff. Venus and Leo, someone wants to play with your stuff and you really want to play with them, but you also care about your thing, so that's the nature of Venus square Jupiter. And then also the overspending, overdoing, but it's less doing. It's more like over loving sometimes. So Venus square Jupiter can be interesting because it's not only like a chance for people to go overboard with things like money, but it's also sometimes nice. I mean, they're both benefics. So while yes, they're square, it can maybe feel good, and that's the danger, right? Like, oh, this feels so good. I'm just going to spend all this money and we're going to just do this. And then, Sunday you had decided to change your mind about maybe, like maybe I don't need to save $500 extra a month, so there are these things that click into place, but that builds. The very first thing that happens Monday is Venus opposes Pluto. Okay, so what I'm giving you is a little bit of a fixed sign roundup because these are all fixed signs. In astrology, the modalities indicate squares. All fixed signs square each other. So if you have Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, or Aquarius placements, Venus retrograde is going to square those, or maybe conjoin them or oppose them. These are all, especially the squares and the opposition, can be a little tense. But yeah, Jupiter and Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, Mercury and Taurus right now, we have heavy fixed sign stuff going on. The South Node is in Scorpio. It's at 3 degrees of Scorpio. The South Node is the eclipse point. Pluto's at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So this is a grand cross, is what it's called. Grand crosses. I mean, what is the imagery of a cross, right? Venus opposite Pluto, which is empowerment or disempowerment. It's also transformation. There seems to be a moment in which we're like, I'm not going to take this anymore. And then you have the Venus Jupiter square that's building, and it can just be harsh reactions, especially with Mars and Leo there. It can be also empowerment. I mean, we can't just paint this with a wide brush and say it's all Pluto's bad. I don't think that, especially when it's Venus aspecting things, because Venus opposing Pluto can be endings that need to happen. That's why it's empowerment and disempowerment. If you're disempowered, it's the realization of that can help you be empowered. And if you have been disempowered, it's moments like these that break you out of it because you're not going to take it anymore. So that's, it's just Monday and it's starting now. But past Monday, I think the major thing we've got going is that Venus is building. I will give Wednesday another check mark on the calendar, Wednesday, June 7th, because Venus is still opposite Pluto and the moon is with Pluto on that day. So maybe it's the whole first couple of days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know. But these are moments that you do have realizations about where maybe you are stuck or where you need a change or a shift. Then we have Thursday. Venus is now past the opposition to Pluto, but then it's going to square Jupiter. So Friday, Saturday, it's just there. I mean, Venus is square to Jupiter and the moon's in Pisces. This is June 9th and 10th. The moon in Pisces is kind of nice. Friday, it hits Saturn first. You know, that's okay. Not totally great, but it is sextile to Jupiter, so it could be a good thing. Saturday, June 10th could be pretty magical. Venus square Jupiter. You may be loving a lot of people having fun. Just remember, this is a point in time that you need to mark. Why? Because Venus will square Jupiter 3 times. This is the first square. And the exact square is actually Sunday, June 11th, midday. Or actually kind of early morning. So June 11th, you got the moon in Aries trine Venus. That's nice. But you have Venus square Jupiter. Who knows? I mean, are they going to be positive or negative things? I tend to think these things are positive if you can keep a check on how much you're giving or how much you're allowing yourself to be in that Venusian space. It'd be really good for creativity, I think. Really good to think about what you want to invest in, or maybe your, budgetary ideas. It's budgetary. I don't know if that's a word. But Sunday, June 11th is also significant because Mercury moves into Gemini. So Mercury is out of Taurus, and now we get to actually kind of use our Gemini mind, thinking, learning, speaking, talking. So what we have is Mercury in this very social sign, Venus square Jupiter. This looks like people are just going to be out partying, having fun. Don't spend too much money. That's my advice on that. The moon in Aries, Sunday, June 11th and 12th. I think that's, overall probably a nice thing because it will be trining Venus and then Mars. I'm just looking at what might be coming along here. So the moon moves into Taurus. Looks like the 13th, the night of the 13th. And that's significant because it will kick off this whole sign square thing again. Keep in mind, Jupiter is now at 6 degrees. It was at 5 degrees when Venus squared it. So the moon will be hitting Jupiter. And even though Venus is past the exact square, it's going to be lighting up those themes again, Tuesday, June 13th. So again, fun, joy, creativity, my assets, my self-worth, those things come up no matter what. Overall, moon Jupiter generally is good, but again, be careful with your wallets around this time. And then we've got Wednesday, the moon hits Uranus, which that can just be a brief emotional aha moment. And then I think, I'm going to go with Thursday morning, June 15th being possibly difficult. Okay. So remember I told you about May 27th, which was the sun square Saturn, which is like obstacles, it can be a test. Well, Mercury is going to do the same thing June 15th, which is Thursday. Mercury is at 7 degrees of Gemini. Saturn is at 7 degrees of Pisces. So again, mental blockages, maybe some harder things to deal with when it comes to communication and speech, obstacles in general around Thursday the 15th. So just something to note if you're having a stressful time. That is hopefully going to be very brief. It looks like by Friday, Mercury's past the square, so maybe only June 13th. And then we're in new moon territory. So that's great, I think. We've got Mercury sextile Venus on Friday, June 16th. These things are all really good. The moon in Gemini could set off the Saturn square again, though. So just, again, something to note. But let me go a little bit further than I normally do because the new moon is on, looks like Sunday, the 18th. Let me just double check that. Or is it actually, it's at night on the 17th. It's at 11:37 p.m. Saturday, June 17th in the central US. The reason I am looking a little bit ahead is because a couple of other important things are going to happen. Number one, Mars will square Uranus. And I want you guys to go ahead like a month out and have that on your calendar. It may not be a month out, but it's definitely almost a month out. So June 25th. Write that date down. It's a Sunday, Mars square Uranus, and maybe even Saturday, the 24th. Mars square Uranus, Mars can represent our physical bodies. Mars is anger, frustration, war. It's also action and passion, but the square, tension to Uranus, upheaval, unexpected events, innovation. That has potential to, protests are a Uranus thing. Explosions with Mars square Uranus, it's a thing. Earthquakes, Mars square Uranus, again, a thing. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, I'm not trying to fearmonger because that's something I don't do. But if you know that there may be a time when you may need to be ready to pivot or ready to, deal with unexpected events, don't go skydiving that weekend, maybe. I don't know, just my idea. Maybe don't go skateboarding if you haven't in 30 years. Things like that. Protect your physical body, June 24th and 25th, maybe even into the 26th. Even into the 26th. So I wanted you to have that on your calendars. And then there's one other thing I want you guys to perhaps have on your calendars. And that is just before, honestly, the Mars square, Jupiter is sextile Saturn. So this is very good. It's very formative. It helps you lay foundations. This is the day of the new moon, pretty much. It's Sunday, June 18th. Jupiter starts to sextile Saturn by degree. So Jupiter, abundance, expansion, Saturn, boundaries, foundations, rules, sextiles, opportunity. So there is some foundational thing being laid during this Jupiter Saturn sextile. So it's June 18th 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And then right in the middle of all that, Saturn goes retrograde. So isn't that funny that Saturn turns retrograde as Jupiter is coming into sextile? Oh, it actually turns retrograde June 18th. So they come into an exact sextile, and then Saturn turns retrograde. Saturn retrograde it's more internal. We start to work on our inner boundaries, our inner foundation, especially in Pisces. So you have this idea of, maybe getting in touch with your spiritual side, your spiritual beliefs, meditation. It's very creative, honestly. So that's all very internal. You kind of rethink the structuring of things with Saturn retrograde, and Jupiter sitting there in an opportunistic sextile. So that's great. But I wanted you to have that. I mean, it's kind of lucky that we've got that going on. By the 25th, 26th, we have Mars square Uranus, which can be quite jolting. So at least we have this foundational kind of thing to lean on. And then, even after that, the sun will trine Saturn. And it's very close to a Mercury cazimi on June 29th. And then the cazimi is June 30th, trine Saturn, sextile Jupiter. So those are all really good. But then you've got July 1st, Venus squares Uranus. And this is another thing I wanted you to have on your calendar. July 1st, Venus square Uranus. Venus, love, money. Easy ways to think about it. Peace, what we value, creativity, aesthetic beauty. That's all Venusian stuff. Square tension to Uranus, upheaval, freedom. And you're talking Leo to Taurus. I went over this in the beginning. So you're talking, I want to have fun. I want to shine my light. And Uranus and Taurus, which is you need to change your values, or your values are changing. And maybe these two things are going to have to adjust around each other. It could even be, your money's not, you're not made of money. So why are you spending all your money? You need to rethink this. All of those things are possible. An unexpected money event, unexpected relationship stuff could be exciting. Venus is a benefic. Uranus is not necessarily a malefic. So this could spell opportunity, but generally the square can be something unexpected that we have to deal with. So that's July 1st. And so, yeah, I sort of gave you a preview through the next full moon, like a month preview, I guess. But here we are, June 2nd. I mean, I might as well give you the month, right? The full moon is July 3rd in Capricorn. So we got the new moon June 18th, the full moon July 3rd, and that new moon's a Gemini, full moon's a Capricorn, just so you have your data points. Okay. There's one thing I'm feeling like, is that new moon square Neptune? It is. So the new moon, I'll go over this more on the new moon video. How about that? I really don't need to say more about it because I might as well just do the new moon video now. So I'll go ahead and stop there. If you've never watched me before, I have separate videos for each rising sign so we can talk about how it goes for you according to your own personal chart. It's not exact because I don't know where all your planets are, but generally the rising sign and the sun sign are pretty good indicators of some themes. So check out your separate rising sign video that I will have for you. And book with me, ecstaticastrology.com. I love doing this. I do it every day. I get to help people through some of their hardest moments and rejoice with people in some of their most exciting moments. And I help plan dates for things. And it's just really great. So thank you guys very much for watching. Visit the website if you have any questions. And as always, comment, like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Check out your rising sign videos.